Yeah, it says live, but I don't know. Maybe we'll go live, but I don't think so. I put it
See,
private. So
I'm
usually
glad we all.
private it records, but it's not done.
I'm glad because we want to put this in the public domain if it works out. But it's good that we have the spontaneity. We're willing to do this after what happened. So I just want to share something with Scott, and I want Scott to just go for it, mate. You just lay it out as whatever the hell you see it, because the way I'm sensing it, it's a frenzy. And the reason why I wanted to us get together and chat, even though it'll be a few hours away, it doesn't matter because we'll do this on Sunday morning, is that a frenzy, right? You know what a frenzy is like? Anyone have an orgy? We have a frenzy, right? And when we go to rock concerts, we can get into the frenzy of a concert. We can get into the frenzy of McDonald's and fast foods. We can get into the frenzies of free man and sovereignty, right? So this is what really hit me hard with Jabba. I got to see a frenzy in Jabba with the Love for Life work. And I want to just explain a couple of things here, and you guys can pull this apart, pick it however you wish, right? But this is sort of fresh off the press for me because I've been contemplating this since I woke up this morning. Is that if you go back to the living dream I talk about, and you can imagine the creator is holding the dream of life in its hand. This is a linear analogy, right? And all the information of that dream is held in focus, in present sense. So when the creator moved its life into the dream of life to set into motion everything that is life as we know it, as man's dream of life, because the creator came as man, the tree is present to the creator, reminding the creator of the dream, the bird, the insects. So everything of reality is a reminder of the original intent for the dream that the creator dreamt. And it's held in present sense all the time. So we never forget who we are when we're brought up by nature. You get that? Right. Yep. So when we dream for children, inside this bubble, inside this dream of life, right? It's a non-linear, right? There's no outside or inside or anything. There's no beginning or end, but we're just trying to make sense of this. Inside this dream of life, there's man, because the creator came as man to hold the dream of life, and we're experiencing the information that holds the dream of life. And man creates man, creates man, creates man, creates man. And there we have all of us as man, right? Womb man and man. And all we're doing is creating dreams out of the dream of life and holding those dreams and directing our life force energy into these dreams, like spiraling a vortex, to create a child that we dream for. So all the sensations of nature forms the living dream that we hold. And the more we surrender to the dream, which we naturally do because we don't even think about it's happening, it's like we're spiraling energy of our intent into the dream. And with the partner that we held, because we dreamt for a partner too before this even dreamt for the child, we dreamt for the partner comes to meet the dream, and we hold this dream. And then together we hold the dream that we've created for a child. Now, as long as we're present to the dream will be created because we will spiral the energy into the dream to create the child, right? Now, what happens? The dream sweeps us up and we come together in that fusion to create the child, the physical form. And that's the same as creation. Now, this is not a frenzy. It's just creation. Now, as long as we are present to that dream and we're holding the dream, the intention for creation of that dream, as in partner, child, reality, nature, it's always present. And that authentic intention, that original dream, is in each of us and in everything, because every instant is unique and original, always unique and original. There isn't a moment that can be repeated, and there's nothing that exists that can be repeated. There's no copy, no mimic going on. If we forget that dream of life, as in we forget the partner, because of other things that come in our head. We can cause the dream, the relationship, to fade away and die, right? So while we hold the dream of life, the sun is shining because that's the presence of our intention as man to the dream of life. As we hold the dream of life to the partner that we dream for, the sun that shines is that dream as the partner that comes to meet the dream, because that partner dreams as we dream it. So the sun shines as the life of that dream. And as we hold the dream for a child, which I've talked about years ago, Scott, you would have seen all this when I put this up years ago in Love for Life, you know, long time ago. We're surrounded by nature, inspired by all the sensations, all that sensorama. And there we are inputting in the bubble of the dream of the child, as we did with the bubble, the dream of the partner, as the creator dreamt for the dream of man. We're inputting information of our intent into the bubble, spiraling the energy of our intention to create the child. And because we are present to the dream does not fade away. It's maintained in focus, it's in present sense. So we get caught up in it naturally, not victims to it, because we intend to do it. And we come together to have sex to create the child, as we did when we come together when we met the partner, because we know, you know, we dream for the partner. And as long as we don't forget this dream and holding it, the dream, that relationship is alive and lives. But if we allow other things to come into our dreaming that make us forget about the original dream of earth, life, nature, creation, as in, if we meet another woman and get seduced by her legs or body, we can easily begin to forget the original dream of the partner and the whole sincerity and authenticity of that relationship. That's sacred, right? Everything of the dream of life is sacred. So I say, this man, that the way our ancestors fell from paradise, well, they fell from undefined reality, was when man started to be seduced by dreams that have no place in the original dream of man's creation. And so we get sucked away. And so our life force energy is now directed into another dream that we're now holding while we're forgetting the original dream. And if we don't direct life force energy into the original dream, there's nothing there. And so the sun will fade away of that relationship until it dies. And if we write the partner off, there's nothing there, it's gone. So it's the same with the child. If we forget the child, the dream of our children, that will fade away and die too, if we don't hold it. So just as the creator holds the dream of life as the tree and all of nature all around us, and just as we hold the dream of our partner that we hold in our relationship, just as we hold the dream of our children, right? It's just how we all are, we're supposed to be, and everything is sacred like that. But because we've been inculcated by dreams that are through the system of what's happened, we have been sucked into dreams that are not of our making. We didn't dream them, they're not ours. And so this effect of this inculcation mimics the way we create naturally. But now we're doing it with a self-obsession, and it becomes that spiraling vortex of a frenzy. So what happens? We can get so seduced into sexuality that we can end up in an orgy, and we get lost in the sex that we don't sense who the real woman is. We don't sense who the real man is. And we don't sense anything, or even who we are. We're just in the frenzy of the dream of that sex. And we become prostitutes, exhausting our life energy for a dream that's not our dream. Now, we do this in so many different ways in the system, because this is exactly what the system is. It's a frenzy. Using our power of creation to make us forget who we are and what we are, so we will corrupt the original dreams of our authenticity for a lie. And this is what Jabba's done with the Love for Life Insight work. The original reason that we intended to create Love for Life was born out of the frustrations and horrors of what this man through dealing with the system. right? And the horror of that there was no community immunity. And so there's a whole array of reasons that motivated this man to start to create Love for Life. But that wasn't this man's dream. And this man wears the dream and holds the dream. But because this man shared it on Facebook and internet, believing we need to inspire brothers and sisters to wake up, now this man was not aware that he was creating another cult, because when you create a frenzy, you're creating a cult. And people can get caught up in the cult of the Love for Life insights, which is what happened to Scott.
Wow.
So I'm not a cult leader, and I'm not here to mimic and get people to personate the dreams this man held and shared on the internet and on Facebook. So in that way, it's an error of this man's making. I'm wrong for what I've done. Believing, because I'm in the lie, that I had to wake up my brothers and sisters all around me to the truth of these insights that this man's sharing, but not realizing the bigger picture during this gradualness of waking up, that brothers and sisters were clinging to the insights and started spiraling inside the vortex, forming a frenzy, which is no different to a rock concert like you watch from Jabba. And Jabba does this, you know, back in 2008, I've been watching some of his videos. You get all these fans all caught up in the frenzy of a song. That's a cult. It's a satanic ritual. That's what masturbation is. We masturbate in a frenzy. So the reason why the occultists have orgies in their rituals is to form this frenzy state and to make sure it permeates everywhere. And then with it, there's all those darkness, visual part 5 stuff that I've been pointing out, these rituals of sacrifice, which is part of the frenzy of a destroyed man lost to the inculcation of those dreams, so the man will forget the original dream of the man. So we have this tendency from childhood to fall into the frenzy of Superman because it was read to us and we liked it. So we took on the costume of Superman and we began to perform the frenzy. We spiraled into performing Superman, Spider-Man.
Until we got bored and went on to the next one and on to the next one.
You have to speak up. I can't hear you. You're not loud.
Until we got bored of the frenzy and went on to the next frenzy and on to the next frenzy and on to the next frenzy. And that's what I've seen myself so much is I've gone from dream to dream to dream to dream to dream because I've never created my own dream to live for. I've latched on to other people's dreams, to other people's frenzies. I got caught up into it and mesmerized by it, like very much like your guys' work. I went to Australia completely mesmerized, wanting to be the Love for Life work, but not realizing that that's all I had to offer when I came out there is a script that you guys had set out there that I latched onto. And I was hoping that, I mean, deep down, I knew that wasn't who I was, but I was hoping that maybe a little glimmer of hope. If I go out there, maybe it could become me. If I just went and lived with people who create these insights, and if I put myself into it, then maybe that would be me. But it all started from complete bullshit and nonsense. I mean, what was I expecting, really? The only thing I could
language, didn't we? We've done it with everything of the system up to that point. So all we know is how to create frenzies.
Absolutely.
Because all we know is bonding with cults. We bond with cults because everything of the system is a cult within a cult within a cult of this spiraling dream. We're holding dreams that are not our dreams and directing energy to them, and we get lost inside them. Mm-hmm. And this is what's happened to Jabba, and this is why I pulled the plug on him. This is why I brought up the subject and began to confront him, right, to see if he has any sense left. Now, the way Fiona, what I'm talking about Fiona too. We counseled each other about it before we did anything. It was premeditated what we did. There was no anger, no rage, nothing. We just saw the program running that I explained in that post I put up yesterday, late yesterday, how Jabba has taken on the definitions of Love for Life, no different than what you did, Scott, and started performing the frenzy. And when we enter inside this Frankenstein's obsession of that frenzy, the reality is not sensed around us. Just like when you're in the orgy, you don't sense the living man. You don't sense anything. You're in the orgy, in the frenzy. So the same thing happened with Jabba, with the Love for Life insights that filled the emptiness of his doubt and uncertainty to meet dreams that he aspired for with issues he had with authorities in Switzerland.
Now, one of the things that I kind of am noticing with a lot of the work that you did back in the day were a lot of first party, third party stuff. And I've noticed that he clings a lot to that. And he thinks that that's like the only way to sense something is if it's physically right in front of you. But he talks about it very often where it's like, well, you can see through people's actions. You can sense through people's actions that this is what's going on. But he refuses to have other people see that through him, to see his actions and see what he's doing and be like, hey, this, according to what I'm sensing and what your actions are portraying, this is what you're doing. But as soon as you say that, he brings up the first party, third party. Look, how do you know? Where's the proof to back it up? Where's this, where's that? It's like,
that's the occultic ritual that he's practicing.
Yeah,
that's an occultic ritual, right? And I'm responsible for that, and not picking up on that when people were complaining to us over years about Jabba's attitude about this stuff. Because when you're getting all caught up in the frenzy, he won't sense Jani. He won't be able to nurture Jani, which we talk about in the stuff. We'll put up all the links to all the stuff so people can read everything about it. We won't be able to sense the authenticity of others around us, because when the program of that ritual is instigated, when the ghetto blaster and all that information is repeated, and we're in the spiraling of that frenzy, no different to a rock concert when you're playing a song and you're in the vortex of it, and then you get an audience all do it, and you're all doing this. It's the same thing. Exactly the same thing. Politics, going to vote in elections is the same thing. Operating in the operating in the cars, So when you are trapped in the self-delusion of our own making, which we've all done, we're all responsible for this. This man's done it. We become desensitized because the noise of the ghetto blaster is what we're focusing on, it's what we're holding. And the original dream, where we can sense reality all around us, is faded away. So reality is not on our radar anymore, and only the ghetto blaster is there, and we're pushing this. It's the same as a rock concert. You could be singing a song, and everyone could be trapped in the hypnotic trance, but no one can sense anyone because everyone's in the song.
Well, you mentioned something that was quite truthful too with the scripts. Everyone's in the song, but everyone's also behind their scripts, behind their walls of what they should project, what they want to be seen to be doing. And like the scripture is very, very telling to that whole situation where, yeah, it seems as though Jabba's got this script of everything he needs to say in certain situations that come up. And if he says it just right, he's protected because this is his comfort zone. If he says this and doesn't stray from it, then he's right in a sense.
Because he's holding that dream.
And
he holds that dream. And
we had that scripture. It's like
he's defined his reality there, hasn't he?
From reality, yeah. It's no different to like the insights that you talk about where, you go to the daffodil and say this daffodil is yellow, or you go to a tree and you say this tree is a deciduous tree, it has this, it has this. All we're doing is projecting the script that we have in front of that tree and completely cutting off to the living presence of what we call a tree.
And also, he keeps defining my character also, or hijacking it, like, which I don't really appreciate. But
he hijacks it blatantly.
Yeah, like,
I saw this heavily because Fiona and I, we willingly gave him our lives on a platter yesterday. And you watch how quickly the frenzy started.
Yeah.
But he doesn't see what's behind it, because the reason he holds that dream, which isn't his dream, which is totally encoded in Love for Life insights that he's practiced over the years of exposure since OPPT started in 2011, 2012, when he first came across our work. And we introduced it to him and nurtured him quite often at times, because we were communicating, just like we did with Scott. Nurtured Scott. But Fia and I weren't aware of this frenzy and what would become of people, because they're not actually creating their dreams, they're just mimicking ours. So when we have a yearning for freedom, or a yearning for truth, and a yearning for love, we're already in the victim state of seeking something outside of us, because we are not even holding the dream of who we really are, because we haven't created it. So we're now looking for something else to fill that void, and then we become bonded to it, and that begins the frenzy. It's like a shattered reality that we need to fill all pieces with definitions to form the definitions of a man that operates in the frenzy of that ID, that identity, that's all-seeing eye that we have claimed that who we are. And so we perform from that script that Scott is talking about. So we've got the script. And that to me is what
is he referring to exactly when he says I'm in confusion and I'm lying and this and that? What is he talking about? Because I have no fucking clue what he's talking about there.
Right, wrong. His world has been defined as right and wrong, and because of all the insights he's built up, that's defined the reality that he sees. So everything comes out of the definitions. And he imposes these definitions of right and wrong and carries out the ritual on others to meet the definitions he's putting out there. See, the right and wrong don't exist. There is no right or wrong in that way. Because undefined man has no place inside the stereotyping of what's right and wrong. We can sense when we're doing harm. We can sense when something is not on our radar. But that's as far as it goes, because everything else is desecration to the uniqueness and originality of a unique original man. So we impose, look, you cannot act the story of Alice in Wonderland or the story of Harry Potter and perform a movie without the script already in place. So you can't perform the right and wrongs of definitions without the script already in place that you default to all the time, that you keep promoting as the right and wrong. So Jabba, and all of us have done this, we will subject others to the definitions that define the version of reality that we claim is true. And so we will try to pull people into that. But in doing it, we're just continuing promoting the cult of defined reality, because we're coming from a defined reality to impose our will on others to meet the definitions that we see as being the truth. I mean, it's so simple, it's ridiculous. And this is what we got to see. And when people, we've had so many people writing to us complaining about Jabba, but I think that the penny really hit Fee and I. And if Fee doesn't come back early enough today, you'll get this on when we do our Sunday morning thing with you. We'll bring this up so you can hear this from Fee. But we've stressed the point. Jabba thinks we're angry. Jabba thinks that we were, all these things he's claimed. He has no idea that we actually provoked the frenzy in him. We wanted to see whether he would even do it with us, whether he would bite the hand that fed him all these years with these insights. And you know what he did? He bit the hand. Now, that doesn't mean we're better than him or we're his master. It's just simply, he has no respect because he cannot sense the authenticity, the uniqueness of another undefined man who's outside the box of definitions he runs with to push this. This man, Arthur, used these methods in the courts, in the law and authorities, and shared this on the internet, right? Thinking to help others. But it was this man's dream. I was not operating from a script, and still don't. They can come and kidnap this body anytime they want. And this man already is what this man is, will be what this man is. Doesn't have to operate from any script, because the man is already holding that dream. I am that dream. But in pushing it out there passionately, I've created a cult following. And Love for Life is not a cult. That was never our intention. And we never wanted people to be lost in the definitions of the insights we share through the alphabet language, and then get caught up in the frenzies of these definitions and start imposing these definitions on others. Right? And that's what I saw. And we're sitting there, and we did this intentionally with Jabba, like a red rag to a bull. We offered our lives up on a platter to him. Let's see whether he'll run the frenzy with us, because it will tell me just how far he's gone, or whether he could sense our intentions to what we were doing. All right? And then you see the cult following around it, all the peripheral thing, everyone else who gets sucked in it with Jabba.
Oh, it's terrible. That's what I seen in the comments.
It's the same as a rock concert. So Jabba, bless his heart, he's innocent. He doesn't have any malevolent intent. He doesn't have any malevolent intent, just like you, or Scott, or this man, or Fiona, and many of us. There is no malevolent intent to intentionally harm. We are just get caught up in the dreams of the frenzies that we've energized and we get sucked into them to become these Frankensteins of that self-obsession, not realizing what we've done. Right?
Okay, but
So,
if I'm not like me, the reason why I'm on YouTube is because I'm working on a dream. I want to become a world-known motivational speaker, and I say it out loud every fucking day. That's my dream. I'm working on it. I want to become a speaker, and I think Jabba doesn't like this. This is maybe why he thinks I'm lost. But that's my dream, and I have a living dream. I'm holding on to it. I'm working on it every fucking day. I wake up. I'm live and direct on my other channel. And I practice my speaking. This is what I want to do. I want to speak to people. I want to inspire people. I've been ordained to do great, and I'm not going to fucking stop. I'm unstop the fucking ball.
Maybe learn from what's happened here.
So,
sorry, Scott.
Just a question, Janik. Do you when you're in that dream of wanting to become a speaker, are you coming from a script at all, or are you doing it freely?
I started that on my own. That's Motivation Academy. It's my baby. That's my other channel. My channel is not the Tru-Mon Show. This is where I do hang out. But my real channel is Motivation Academy, and I invite you to visit it. I have thousands of videos where I practice my skill. I want to become a speaker. I am a speaker now, but all I do on YouTube is not it for me. That's only the beginning. I have a big dream, a big vision. And I'm walking towards it.
Can I say, look, we all can sense, when we're authentic, we can sense each other's intentions. We can sense the inspiration. It's like a seed that sprouts of us. And that leads us from the system, through the system, to do something.
Yeah.
Now, we will get caught up in scripts. You will be caught up in scripts. We all get caught up in scripts because we are in the script of the system. And we are spiraling in these frenzies. But if the intention, the authenticity of is there, we will keep coming up against these scripts and expose it for what it is and let it go as we keep pushing forward in letting go, and so that the authenticity of the dream comes to fruition, right? So, and we don't know what that's going to be until we've completed. So we can't judge anyone until they've actually created it, right? You can't just sit there and we point out and judge everybody because they're in the middle or in the early quarter or on the last phase. It's irrelevant. It's in the fruit. And that the fruit will reveal the truth of the original spark, of that inspiration. So why Scott, correct me, Scott, if I get it wrong or add to this, he's saying to you, are you sure you're not operating out of a script to define what Janik is, to fill the void of Janik, right? Now, I'm not saying you are.
No,
Janik.
I think, no, hold on. It's good to talk about it. I want to talk about it, but I want to talk about it in a respectful way and not being tortured by questions like he wants to do. He needs an answer like he's fucking God. I'm waiting to talk about anything, Arthur. You know me, Arthur. The other day we went real again, and we're going to go real again. I don't hide anything, but do I have a script? I have nothing scripted. I am off from work. I'm at home, retired. What the fuck I'm supposed to do? Watch TV or give my time to humanity?
I get it. And I get it. And that's why Fee and I enjoy having these chats with you, because you give us a lot of space to express the insights and you do what you do. So the authenticity of that intention shows through in spite of all our fucked upness, in spite of how fucked up we each are. Right? Do you get that?
Like, who knows if I'm
saying to you, are you still conscious? Are you conscious of the scripts that will suck you in, especially if you get more of a bigger audience? Because that's what happens. The ego can kick in and we get lost in the frenzy of our own delusion.
I will never be a sellout. I will never be a sellout. Never. I will always speak my mind, the most honest I can do, and that's why you don't see me on YouTube with all those flattered fanatics, because I can sense the fucking bigger picture. Not totally, but I'm sensing it, and I have a responsibility, if I can sense a bigger picture, just like you, just like Scott, just like every one of us, to inspire others. They're fucking blind. Like I was blind 4 years ago. I didn't even know a clue of what I'm talking here today. Hello. So come on.
You really get that.
The world.
Scott.
like the world needs inspiration, and that I know. I was in need of inspiration. I went on YouTube, I found it, I came out the dark. Other people are gonna do it with me, but I say it every day. I'm not a fucking guru. I'm not here to save anyone. I'm trying to save my fucking self.
It's that reminds me of kind of what Arthur said in the beginning about how, you know, their intentions with Love for Life work back in the day were not to go and save people per se, or like your intention were to go and wake people up. You wanted to help your brothers and sisters, but it wasn't their responsibility, right? So careful that you don't take on that responsibility to go and be the guy who wakes people up to save people, to bring people out of this, right? Just, and I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but just be careful. And I'm just saying, like, Arthur didn't realize this in the beginning. He held that dream. He was inspired to share, but just be careful of how people will take you, and just be diligent. It happened.
Exactly.
I was like that, Scott, at the beginning. I thought I was in to wake up the world, but now I've grown up. I've grown into this, especially being with Arthur. Did many hangout, did many reflection, but I don't want to save anybody anymore. I don't even talk about flat earth and shit like that anymore. It's too deep. The truth is too fucking deep. And even people, they have no clue. They have no clue. You have to seek it. You have to do some work on yourself. But I want to shine a light that maybe can put people in some kind of direct. I know I can do this. I know I can be a good coach. I have good skills for that. So I just want to shine and just, I don't know, just move out the dark and
the glory, Janik, if the glory is not all roads leading to Janik, like all roads leading to Rome, then the glory of each man meeting their own heart and be inspired by it will work, and you will achieve what you're holding of that dream, because it's authentic. And anything that comes along and you realize, oh, I have to let that go, you'll let it go because you hold the bigger dream if you are authentic. And that's what Scott's saying. That's what we're saying. And this is why we did what we did yesterday with Jabba, because the bigger dream has been lost. Jabba is not holding it. The crucifying, he crucifies other people inside the definitions of right and wrong that only are in the Frankenstein persona that lives in that matrix. But that right and wrong is not operating outside, just like the frenzy of people in an orgy of sex is not, the real people aren't there because no one's sensing anything of the real people. Everyone's there getting what they want from it, right? The orgasms and all that stuff, right? So this is the same when you go to McDonald's, you know, no one there is going to sense the real man. And no one there is going to sense the real animals in nature when they're all harvested to be fed the dead corpse materials through McDonald's or KFC or whatever. There's the whole system, you know, is all this, motor cars, everything of the system is this offering of distraction because we don't hold the big dream anymore of the original man. We've forgotten it. And now we're running the scripts and performing these lies, these definitions, right? So each of us can only be responsible to say yes or no to these temptations as they come along. And if we are strong enough, we will face it and do what needs to be done, which is, again, what Fiona and I did yesterday. We actually did what we did to unplug from this Frankenstein now called Jabba, who's running around with Love for Life Insights, which is pretty much all our work, right? And we have no problem, but he is actually using to crucify innocent people. When the whole purpose of the Love for Life Insight work was there to deal with malevolent intent with people who want to fuck us over and do harm. And that was the original motivation that started everything and brought me with the battle axe and baseball bats. And that's what brought Scott into coming and connecting as we were sharing the bigger picture, as we kept waking up and seeing it for what it was and writing and sharing it, right? But we had no intention and we were oblivious to this at that time, that we're going to end up with Scott coming here. Bless your heart, Scott. You know, you didn't mean it. And it was an eye-opener for Fiona and I to see Scott appear in our lives here as a complete mimic of Love for Life. And the little boy, the trauma underneath it was all there. And we dealt with this. It was a nightmare, Scott. This Scott, that wasn't even a man. But he clung because of his own hurt, his own doubt, all the things he did. And Scott will talk about from his perspective, right? He's not less than me and I'm not less than him. What Scott did, this man's done too. I've been there. No doubt about it. There's nothing that Scott's done that I haven't done. I've done terrible things in my life, right? But they weren't malevolent intent. They were in the moment reactions of that frenzies that were imposed on us by others. And we sitting there lost inside these things, and we don't know what the fuck we are, what's going on. And there's a struggle, and we struggle, and we struggle for something that is us in all of this, right? And that's why I asked us to talk together and get Scott talking about how you arrived here and how you nearly killed Aiden in the car and how the fuck you nearly, you obliterated Hannah's car. And there are so many things that were going on here. Not saying that I wasn't contributing to, Scott. I have my fucked upness too, bro. And it was operating here too when you were here. No doubt about it. But you get what I'm saying? The more that we share these phenomena, these man-made phenomena, maybe we can inspire people to realize Love for Life is not a cult. We're not here to create frenzies. We're not here to have fans and get lost inside the spiraling vortex of a thing that we now call a definition of freedom and truth and consciousness. Producing
that frenzy is the malevolent intent, really. But like that frenzy, that frenzy that you talk about is malevolent intent. But it's not who we are. It's the shit we get caught up in. It's the shit we put our soul, our energy, our good hearts into.
Someone else's malevolent intent.
Yeah. So I mean, like a lot of times, like if you can sense it and you can address that malevolent intent without casting away the man that got caught up in it, then
exactly
a lot of the work that you did, and like with the courts and all that stuff, can work. But you have to be cautious that it is in fact the malevolent intent that you're focusing on, and not to do harm to the man. You're trying to fuck off the malevolent intent, not fuck off the man. And I think
exactly.
That's a very fine line.
Exactly. The way this man looks at it is that the intention of the occultists who have defined these rituals became the frenzies of our lives because we got exposed to the information of those definitions that defined the matrix for us. So we would be in their world spiraling inside that stuff. So it isn't we are in the malevolent intent, but we're not of the malevolent intent because it is not our dream. We did not dream this malevolent intent. So there's the thing we got to, and this is the thing that I found that Jabba has great difficulty with, and I've come across this with others, and I experienced this with you when you were here. When we can't sense others, we will perform the rituals of this trauma because we don't know how else to be, because it's all we got on offer, right? And then it needs how strong some of us can actually confront and nurture people. And that's what Fiona and I did with you. We nurtured you. We didn't ostracize you. We confronted you. Sometimes we had to use baseball bats, other times whatever. But the more you talk about this, Scott, I don't want to talk in third person for Scott here, but the more you talk about this and describe what happened and what was frenzy to me and some of the things you did, that was just brain-blowing to us, that blew Fiona and I out, because it's that, bless your heart, you gifted us with the insights of how it, my God, how, so you've actually willingly sacrificed your life to gift this for the bigger dream. So it's a gift. You offered us a gift, Scott.
It was a gift to myself as well, because I got to see full on the shit that I had no idea. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say I had no idea was there, but the shit that I was willingly ignoring because I didn't want to take it on and do something about it. I wanted to pass the buck to other people. Like the inspiration for coming to Australia, I still remember the moment. Like I'd always thought, yeah, it'd be nice to go and visit Arthur and Fiona and live with them for a while. But that deciding moment that made me go, fuck it, I'm leaving, was me getting mad and hating on my parents because of something they did, something they said, something that did not please Scotty. So, well, fuck you guys, I'm leaving, I don't need you. Fuck all my friends, I just pretty much said, fuck you guys, I don't need you. Everything that I had started creating in here in my home, I just said, fuck you two, I just gave it up. And because it was because all the things that I was creating weren't much, I didn't create them uniquely. They were so easy to give up because they weren't my dreams. They were dreams of what can Scotty do to make himself look like this? Like me getting the horses. I still remember back in the day, it was like, oh, how great would it be to have a couple horses? All the girls would think this about me and all people would think this about me. And, if I could take on a couple horses and, it would really show a lot about me. And it was all
so
me,
you got horses for pussy, did you? Is that why you got horses, so you can have pussy?
Oh, honestly, to be completely honest with you, yeah, that's why I got horses.
That's what some people
That's
get
all-
out of it. And certain
my
guys, isn't it?
from before I came to you guys was what can Scott do to impress people?
I did that
And
too.
it's fun because it's all based on our insecurities. It's us having to show this script, this stereotype to people, so people will look and be like, "Yeah, he's cool," and you go, "Hey, yeah, you're right. I am cool. I am this." And then we fill that void and we feel good for a little while until the next day we wake up and it's gone.
Yeah, it's
It's
empty,
not
isn't it?
sustainable.
Because it's not our dream. And that's why when it is our dream, there is none of that up and
But I
down. We
can't-
don't have that experience.
You know,
And I'm still working through a lot of that
you know
shit.
how I know I'm not running a script in my dream thing? Is because I feel the same as when I was 18 years old, 17, 18 years old. The same.
Yeah.
So I know I'm being true to myself.
That
I want to be
innocence
true to
shines through,
myself.
Joe.
Huh?
The innocence shines through. It really does.
Yeah.
You know, and I've seen this in a lot of brothers and sisters. There's so many. Look, the undefined reality of Johnny is still there. It's just that the scripts of everything else that's bogged you down are still running. But if we can sense the authenticity of an undefined man, we'll work with that. And this is why,
Trying
again,
to define himself a little bit more, trying to find some kind of meaning. I'm trying to find meaning into life. What's so
You
wrong
like
with
to find
this? What's so wrong with this? To go
you'll undefine
after.
it, bro.
Huh?
You will undefine it because no one can define that for you. So whatever, I get it when you use this language, and everyone has different intentions behind words, but we got to
Yeah,
sense the
exactly.
intent. I get. I'm just pointing out to you that the undefined Janik is the undefined Scott, is the undefined Arthur, is the undefined Fiona, undefined Jabba. That's where peace and paradise and all these things are. But with the way I'm looking at it now, with Love for Life and all the stuff that we've been doing all these years, is that we've got to be clear about when we use the baseball bats of these insights to direct it at malevolent intent by those who intentionally doing it, right, on their victims, like the Mama Queen, as far as I'm concerned, is one of those. And that's the same with Max Eigen and all of them. They have this malevolent intent, even though when you go to the even bigger picture, they were babies too, and they've been seduced. But they blatantly manipulate a hostage situation to make sure the emotions of a script are running through the man who isn't able to control its effect, right? That's very different. And that's what the Love for Life Insight work was for, to attack and destroy that malevolent intent, to expose it for what it is and give them nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, and bring it all out into mainstream through the internet and website to minimize their effect on anybody else. And that is, you'll see that all through our work, and Scott would vouch for this. That's why we did it, right? Because of what we went through at the hands of this corruption. But then all our brothers and sisters who do not have this malevolent intent, but they still have the scripts running through them, so that they are in the malevolent intent, but they're not of it because they're not their dreams. They don't dream to intentionally fuck you over because they want power and control over you, because you can sense the difference. And that's the whole thing about Java. In nurturing brothers and sisters, you nurture them, but not with that type of baseball bat where you're attacking someone with malevolent intent. Now you've got to inspire them, and you can use a baseball bat sometime if they are up for it, and they can cope to keep breaking out of these prison states where the frenzy is controlling them and they can't seem to be able to step outside to the bigger picture, right? But we got to watch out that we don't define them, because we can create a cult out of people by doing this, because they become dependent on you for their sense of belonging, right? Which is what's happened with the Love Life Insights and with Jabba. Jabba has this unhealthy sense of belonging to Love Life Insights to give him sense of purpose and direction, to feel something about him and his life deeper down that was empty for him, that he'd been searching for, right? Same with you. You got to watch out, Janik, that in your searching for, that you don't end up becoming in the definitions of a script and run out of them, which is what we do. I'm not having a go at you, but that's what all rock and roll, the whole music industry, the film industry, the fashion industries, all these industries of the system are cults within cults. And that is the social engineering that we perform to address us in the fashion statement of those definitions and walk around as a mannequin costume of the right and wrong of this fucking nightmare, man. So
but I stay aware. I grow in awareness. I expand my awareness day after day, so I should stay very focused on the truth and going where the truth takes me. That's another thing that I don't understand this question. Going where the truth takes me. Again, the truth varies with the level of awareness of the people. So for me, the truth is living it. The truth is something you live. It's not something you talk about. It's something you live. It's the truth is what it is. Okay, it's true that might be green, but it's because it's been defined to me, like you say. So what is the truth?
Well, it's
truth.
undefined.
But that's
it's
it.
undefined, right? And when all of us are creating living dreams that are undefined, we have paradise and freedom amongst each other. And we don't have a cult because no one's clinging to definitions. Now, that's the thing of the frenzy. It's so easy to be sucked into the frenzies and become cult leaders, even though we think we're not. But the de facto, we end up in this de facto state where the holder in due course, if you want to talk legal terms, is holding the definitions and influencing others who are all searching. That's why they come to the Life Alive website, why they come to the YouTube channels, because they're dreaming for freedom, they're dreaming for consciousness, they're dreaming for remedies to cure issues they have in the system. And so they're looking for anything to patch holes where that doubt and uncertainty is, because if there was no doubt and uncertainty, there'd be no searching. There'd be nothing to look for with anyone, because you already are. And you don't need another man to define anything for you, because you already are there. So you don't have any, there's no attachment. If there's no attachment, you have freedom. And there's no cult.
That's the world I dream of. No one needs to find. You don't need to find anything in the world that I dream of. It's already there.
Exactly.
I think it's adamant too to be aware. And I kind of thought of this when Johnny said, you feel like you did at 18. I think because like a lot of this trauma and this brainwashing has been going on for so long, like since we were born, how do we know what are our feelings? Like we've been trained into feeling certain ways and to thinking through certain ways. So even at 18, we've already been well involved in the brainwashing. So how do we know that even that's a pure, sincere feeling? I'm not saying it's not, but it's just like, and these are questions I ask myself. Is like, how do I know this is me, the man, or is it not just something I've been trained to believe in and to give my life to?
But and because for my part, I always been into reggae music when I was young a lot, and I was carrying that very far. And suddenly I just stopped and I got trapped in Babylon, having children and all that. And I kind of forgot the reggae music vibe and that it changed my life at one level. It kind of woke me up early with Bob Marley. But then I let it go, and then I started going back and more. And then when I had time off, I just said, okay, I love reggae music. I'll go help other people into this. And then that's where I started. When I say I'm really where I need to be, it's interviewing reggae artists. I really love it. I love to know about, and I know I'm stuck into something, but that's my dream. That's what I hold on to, but I do it with good intent. I don't do it, and I do it in an intent to spark something in their head also before the show. Like I make them aware of a lot of stuff, and I point Arthur's show with me on my show. I'm trying to, and even though Arthur, I did like 8-9 hangouts with him on my other channel, I rarely talk about his stuff. I'm not retaking his dream. I have my own original dream here that I'm working on. That's another thing, I'm not retaking Arthur, and I've said also live that I don't agree with everything Arthur says, but I'm capable to talk to him, and we're capable to sit down together and have a chat, a very inspiring chat that we inspire each other.
We can't define where Johnny wakes up and where Johnny is still asleep, because we're lying if we do that.
Exactly.
You see, we're all hypocrites because we default to English to talk to each other. That's no difference to defaulting to reggae to do what you do with reggae, or what we do with English to do with English, or what we do with anything with a motor car or a motorbike. The only difference is that if the more that we sense and reconnect with our senses, we will build that confidence to let go of these things, so we stop destroying the reality, because we're returning to holding the living dream of reality, of the living man. And we don't want don't hold the corruption in the dream anymore. So there's a letting go. To answer, Scott, what you were saying, when you are in nature and you smell a flower, you smell the scent. That is an authentic experience that is unique to you. And that's where your senses are. Now, the more that we attune to the sensations of those experiences without the definitions in our head defining what we're sensing, the more we connect with who the real man is. Because, see, the real man is not defined in a place. The real man is not defined in the body. The real man is not defined by a name. There's no location where the real man is. It's an illusion to think the real man is inside the skin of this body, of this man. We're not there. That's a lie. That was defined to us. But the senses that we sense of smell, of sound, what we hear, what we taste of reality, is holding the living dream of the man that we already are. And the more that we don't doubt that, the more we are expanding our senses again and letting go of all the definitions that stereotyped us into time and space constructs, as in, oh, this is Arthur Cristian in this body, Arthur's Greek, and Arthur is now turning 60, Arthur was born, he's a Leo, and Arthur, you know, it just, you realize what I'm talking about. And then you get the same stereotype with mum and dad, and you get all the mathematics and astrology. All of this is an illusion, right? And while we default to it to help us think, I don't know who I am. What am I? Right? It means we still reject, we still doubt what we sense, the smells. So the more that we spend out in the garden, the more we spend in reality, in nature, the more that we are part of an uncorrupted dream, the more the undefined man blossoms again, because we've broken the prison of definition to allow the man to expand its living dream that we hold, right? And it's there as an undefined man that we are who we really are. And that's there that we can sense and anticipate other people's intentions. We can sense situations, right? And where what we now call the extraordinary. I mean, I'm going to share a couple of things that I've already talked to Scott about, but I want this to go live. I'm going to share it. There were attempts on this man's life. Twice, there were 3 assassination attempts on this man's life. The first time was in a car, and I knew to avoid where I needed to go because there was a trap for me. I just didn't even go there. Right? I can't prove it. The second time, I had Xanthi in the back seat of the car, driving down Old South Road, which Scott knows. And going down that road, I saw the intention. I saw a picture of these men in a car. That was a station wagon with bull bars coming at great speed on a narrow road that we call Old South Road. And they must have been doing incredible speed, but the intention was to run us off the road and get our car to roll, because I was doing probably 110 on what's now become a 90k speed zone. It used to be 100, now I think it's down to 90, and I was doing 110. And I had Xander back speed. When I saw the picture, when I sensed this picture of this intent, then I saw the car coming over the hill, the car with these 4 men in it. And I had like not even 2 seconds or something like that. And you know what I did? I moved my car directly in front of them to have a head-on with them. But the moment I moved the car directly in front of them, they moved their car to the other side. Their car went off the road and rolled and smashed up. It's really smashed up. When I'm watching in the mirror, I can see this car smashing up. And I moved on. Something like half an hour later, I came back down that road. There was no car crash. It was all cleaned up. Everything was removed. But you can see all the damage to the side of the road on these embankments where it happened. But everything was removed. So there was a big psyop organized there. No different to the JFK assassination in Dallas. It was organized. The third time the assassination happened to this man, I was walking, doing these 2-hour walks. And in the back areas of East Barrel, I saw a picture, again in my brain, this picture that you sent, of 2 men in a black car with the intention to kill me. And then, I can't remember if it's moments or not, or seconds, whatever, this black car appears down the road and turns. And I knew, okay, I jumped a fence, ran across this $1 million property, and then started to climb up this, through what was a fence with hedges on it. And as I got to the top, I turned around, I heard a gunshot, right? And I turned around, and when I turned around, I saw the bullet. Now, you know what happened? There was no time. Everything stopped. And now it was like in the scene out of the Matrix, the bullet coming directly towards this man's head. And this man was like this. If you look at, turn around looking at the bullet coming at this man did this. Did that. Now, it was not prescripted, unmeditated. And then the man turned and looked at the 2 men in the car, jumped the fence and went off. Right? That was the last time these type of attempts happened. Another thing that happened in 2012, this man went to sleep for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I don't know where I was. I don't even know what I did. But this man slept for 2 weeks. And Fiona's telling me that Hannah and others had come to look after the body, pick up the body, take it to the toilet, change the body, clean the body, do whatever this body was doing in the bed. The only glimpse of anything was, I remember that my friend Bruno and another friend, Georgia Rapat, who we used to do chats with many years ago, were there in the bedroom looking over this body, doing acupuncture or something. Right? But whatever happened, eventually, Fiona spoke to another friend of ours who's a chiropractor in Fiji, who gave Fiona another type of garlic-based remedy that you put on the bottom of your feet. And they put these on my feet. Now, whether that caused me to pull out and wake up, or whether I was coming back or whatever, I don't know. But when I came back, I was a baby. I felt like a baby. The innocence was so profound, and the senses were so heightened. Back then, I had no definition to help me make sense of it. But I was in that dream, you could say, of that bubble, where the senses of the dream of life were so heightened that when I had to relearn to get my balance to walk. I couldn't walk. I had to relearn my balance. And it took me weeks of stumbling. I couldn't walk. I had to, like a child, had to learn to crawl and walk. I literally almost had to go through that again. But my senses were so heightened that when I was going down the ponds, just the back behind here, I was able to watch signs from more than a kilometer away, far more, and zoom in on small print and read it. I was able to watch people walking in the distance, right? And zoom in from farther than a kilometer away and listen to their conversation. But more than that, I was able to look at anyone's body like X-ray vision, look inside their bodies. And when all this was happening, I came home and I was saying to Fee, this is too much for me. I don't want this responsibility. I don't want any of this responsibility. It's too much. I can't cope, because I could see if word got out about this back then, there would be a train of people at our door going kilometers to line up to come and visit this man. Right? Whatever happened, what I'm trying to say is, whatever happened got turned off of my intent. It's still off. I'm back to how things were before I had the 2 weeks sleep. But I don't forget the senses, that sensorama. Our senses, as that man who woke up from the 2 weeks sleep, that man, that child man, was not in this body. This man was much more than this body. This man filled that space far beyond. And that's why that man could read the signs from so far away, because the consciousness man had expanded so far. So the attacks of the occults begin in the womb to condition us to zoom out and zoom out so we can't hold the bigger picture. So the way to work it out, Scott, is just enjoy the senses of smell, enjoy the senses of sound, enjoy the senses of reality.
I mean, if you want a definition of what truth is, that is truth. But I mean, it's not something you go searching for. It's more or less you get rid of all the lying, all the distractions from you actually being present with life. Because when you're present with life, all of a sudden that, like you said, the definitions fall away and you are living truthfully. But like anything other than that is just a bullshit lie.
Totally agree.
It just shows you that there is, like when those assassination attempts had, it's as if the ancestors that we are, that is the consciousness of this man, because we're undefined, because all of man is the definition, is the undefinition of this consciousness of we are. We are all of our ancestors. And we hold it here in present sense where everyone has been all this time. Right? And Jean, I don't know if you're hearing us, but your video screen's dropped out. Yeah, that's better. So
I'm here.
When we don't doubt anything, the calling of everything, of reality, is there for us and meets the dream. And that's why the body of this life of this man continues, because the ancestors would have been the influence that stopped that bullet that slowed everything down. Right? We all have this ability, but this man alone didn't do it. There was something greater, where this man had already surrendered to something more magnificent and had not accepted the lies of definitions that kept us in the hellish state. You know?
I think it's something to just, sorry to cut you off, Arthur, but to anyone listening to the stories that you're expressing and sharing, is to be careful that you don't get caught in the, I guess you call it jealousy, or like the want to be able to have those powers, because it would help you fill that void. It's like, well, if I had that, I could do this, and I'd feel this about myself, and all of a sudden I'm just saying this because when I heard those stories from you back in the day, that's what was going through my head. I wasn't fully aware that it was going through my head, but yeah, I started building this jealousy over you and what you've been through and your experiences and all these incredible experiences that you've had, where you've fully felt what it was like to be in the moment, purely in the moment, to be like that baby, that man baby, right? Just be sincere and to have the heightened senses. And when I heard that story, I was going, oh wow, that's what I'm working towards. I got to get rid of all my shit so I can feel that. But it's like all of a sudden now I'm living through your experiences and the man isn't there. And it's back on it because I wanted that experience instead of living my own unique experience. Whether it was like yours or not, it doesn't fucking matter. It's just, as soon as I got caught up in your experience, I'm gone. And it's fucked for me to think.
This man has no fear of death. There's something happened with this young boy when this little boy was being sexually abused all those many times to 1.5 and 4.5 years of age, and stuff where the body was taken away. Mum left me with another woman, took the body, and then 5 people were, well, I can't remember 5 people, but there would have been many times where this abuse happened. But something just exploded in this man. I refused to them to break me. And so here I was, this 2-year-old kid, no joke, 2-year-old. Mum used to type upstairs, lock me in the bedroom in a 2-story terrace upstairs, and this 2-year-old kid used to get out with the door locked and the window shut. This boy used to get out. Now, I don't know what happened. All I know is that people told me that I used to bring all these dogs back. I would disappear and come back with big packs of dogs, bring them back home. And my life at home was a horror because Mum and Dad fought and screamed and argued and all that. And then, or I would go to the bus stop near home, right near home, and get on a bus with others standing there and disappear kilometer or miles away in the city, just drifting, until eventually I would end up where someone must have realized I wasn't with anyone, and I ended up at a police station, and eventually Mum came and collected me. So there's something strong in some of us that we refuse to be broken. We refuse. And the fear of death even though this man has, in the body, has experience of fears of height and has a fear of being suffocated, because that's what happened to this, some of these things that we're doing to this little boy. You can get past all this stuff and experience the extraordinary that is who we are, that's present to us all the time. So something has driven me that way. But I don't, you know, when I was much younger, I would have run on an ego trip with some of these experiences, and I probably would have garnished it and destroyed any authenticity of whatever remained of the man during those early days. There's no doubt about it, because this man did have a whopping ego trip. And that's why I know it so well, because I can see through the windows of my own shit, and I can see it in others and how it plays. So it's not like pretty much everything that I'm talking about is because I've come from direct experience with the very shit that helps me to expose the shit for what it is. I mean, look, there are other experiences that I want to share with you that you probably are aware of, Scott, you know, because I may have told you these things or you read about it. But back in 1997, I think it was, when did Diana Spencer die? Whenever it happened, we had when I had my businesses and I was making money and earning, I rented a holiday home up in the Blue Mountains, which is about an hour and a half trip from where we used to live in Mossman, Clifton Gardens, in the northern suburbs of Sydney. And so we used to go up there Friday night and come back Sunday night. But for some reason, one particular break, we ended up going on a Sunday morning and coming back on a Monday. And we arrived at this little log cabin on a Sunday morning, and the next door neighbor came running over, who I didn't hardly know. I don't even recall how we even talked to them. And this woman comes running over saying, have you heard about Diana? And I'm going, and you know, this is early in the morning, we're tired, and I'm trying to pull luggage out of the boot of the car. Just, who? What Diana? What's it? It's just Diana Spencer. She died in a crash. And I'm going, oh, vomit, because I'm thinking about, you know, where my head was back then. I hated anything to do with royalty and anything related connection, all that stuff. I thought the whole thing was just vomit. And I'm thinking vomit, while this woman's telling me. I said, big deal. Okay, she's dead. Anyway, she goes, and I go inside the log cabin. I'm bringing luggage in. I'm dropping on the wooden floor in the entrance to this cabin. And I felt this presence come through into this body of this man. And it was the woman, Diana Spencer. It's like it was walking. And I could smell her, I could sense her, and I could hear her. And she's saying to me, I'm so sorry for letting you down. And I'm going, what? I'm so sorry for letting you down. And she's crying. And I said to Fiona, because she was coming in bringing stuff from the car, I said, look, Diana Spencer's here. She's talking to me, you know, and my eyes, I'm crying. My body is crying and there's tears coming out of me. And I knew, I sensed it, that she had been murdered, that she had actually been suffocated, strangled. So I knew when I found out what the car crash was, she was still alive in the car. But there was a ritual done on her body, and she was being choked to death in that ritual. So she was murdered in the car. So whatever happened would have stopped others coming to her. Now, what does all this mean to me? Back then, fucking nothing. You know, I didn't know what this meant, because, you know, she come in and then she's gone, and I sort of slept back into my fucked up life, just kept living, being a businessman, making money, being the Greek wog, you know, earning, you know, and just having sex with Fiona, whatever the hell, wherever headspace was, doing the social outings, you know what I mean? It's just all that crap. But now I know what's going on. Now I can sense what happened there. But that's the truth. That happened. But that's, again, our senses. And when we sense something like that, who we are is not in the prison of the defined stereotype of the man Arthur who ends here at the surface of the skin. We're greater than this. So it's our senses that can sense as far as we can hold the dream. So we can hold the dream so magnificently that the essence of the Creator is us too. And then we can expand that. Expand it. But we're so fallen from this, and that's why we don't remember that our ancestors created the mountains, created the rivers, created everything. through this sensory capacity to hold dreams, direct the energy, and watch, like an ancestor could dream a bird, a purpose, and watch that bird fly from the hand. That's who we are. That's who we really are. But we're so fallen in the vortex of nonsense that we're creating bullshit. So I'm just sharing some of these things. I don't live my life out of these things. The other experiences I want to share, just to evoke anything that's possible. Like Johnny talks about wanting to inspire people, do what he does through reggae music and his shows. When we moved to this house that we're in now, this one here, which was November 2005, I was already doing these 2-hour walks because I had been dealing with the tax department and the lies of the tax department. They were attacking this man through the business that led this man to give the business to one of my staff and walk away. And I wanted to anyway, because I'd already, with Fiona, we'd bought the beach house, the family home, and directed resources to that. And we turned that into holiday rentals to become a cash flow so that I could walk away from the business to reinvent this man's life, not knowing what the hell it was. I was only in the system's bullshit there. But when we came here, I was in the renovations during a period of the beach house, and a 7-week period that we blocked off because the house was heavily booked out all year round. And the bank that Fiona, we created alone with Macquarie Bank, stuffed up, delayed the settlement dates, all the promises, all the paperwork in place that we could pay all the tradespeople that I'd organise, because I was organising everything. I couldn't pay. Tradespeople couldn't pay everything. And so we were sabotaging the renovation work underneath this family home of this beach house because we had income coming from the top of it, but underneath the original cabin that was built in the very early 1900s or whenever it was built, 1940s or 30s, whatever, we were going to renovate and open that up so that we can expand what was then 62,000 a year income into something like 90,000 a year, which was a lot of money back in 2006, 2007. It's a lot. 2005. It's a lot of money. Today it's like 150,000, which is easy to live on. But the point is, why I'm mentioning this is that we then discovered the fraud where the bank switched the contracts. The contracts they offered us that they approved in the documentation, which the broker had arranged, led to us bringing the papers for the broker to sit down with us for us to sign. We didn't sit down and go for all the very fine detail because we were under the pump of getting the renovations of this family home sorted out. We had the 7-week period, and I'm busy running business and all these other things going on. We already had some kids and all this stuff going on. When we discovered that they tried to take almost double the amount of money out of the bank account, and we stopped it, and we then found out that the contracts that they put us under were not the contracts they offered that we approved. And so everything was switched, right? But when we finally got the money, we had to rush to pay off basically, the long story cut short on this, the renovations to the original shack underneath had to be stopped. So we had to finish aesthetically outside because we couldn't finish inside, which we would have done if we were able to start from the beginning. We had the money to pay for everything that needed to be done in that 7-week block. We would have got the job done. And that cash flow coming from that downstairs that would have brought us into the 20 to 35,000 a year income on top of the 62 would have happened. But all that got sabotaged, right? And when we discovered they tried to take almost double the money or beyond a third of what we could afford to pay, which we agreed within the arrangements, because it was coming from the cash flow of the holiday house, it blew us away. And so that began an issue where we entered into the courts to deal with the bank over this fraud, this lie that had compromised us. Now I'm doing these 2-hour walks. And in January 2006, with all this going on in the background with the old business and all these other things happening, I'm walking very fast. I'm much smaller, slimmer body. My head is focused because of what was happening, dealing with the tax departments who tried to bankrupt this man, tried to destroy the business and wanting $200,000, which was bullshit and all this sort of stuff. I kept my head together And now I had another fraud coming with the Macquarie Bank on top of it. And where they tried to bankrupt this man, I refused. I just told them to fuck off. I'm not signing nothing. I did nothing, which is the best thing I ever did. In hindsight, years down the line. The reason I'm mentioning all this is because during these 2-hour walks in January 2006, I had a series of events that happened that made a huge imprint on this man's life. The first one was, and this is happening during the day with my older dog, Sammy, who's not with us anymore, who would have been, God knows, 12, 13 back then, or whatever. Well, I can't remember now. But the long story was that a memory came back to me, and this is all on Old South. This is all on Old South Road, Scott. This is when we go down the back of the ponds, and I'm walking up Kangaroo Road, and then I turn up Old South Road, and there's all the way up to the big roundabout of Alice, where it takes to David Woods Fields and all the playing fields. So it's more than a kilometre walk. But during that Old South Road strip where I'm walking, because that's part of that 2-hour long walk, this memory came back to me while I'm walking of an experience that I had. Okay, got that, Jabba. We'll stop this really soon. This
mean Janik?
sorry, Johnny. Sorry, apologies. He has to. Yeah,
it's okay. I love my bro Jabba. It's okay. You can go.
No, sorry, mate. Apologies. I take it back. That's no offense to you,
okay.
Jabba. No,
it doesn't offend me. It doesn't offend me at all.
But I just want to talk about senses here because this memory came back of an experience I had back in hang on, where was I? 1979. It was around, it would have been around, actually would have been a bit early. It could have been even 1978. It was around that point. I was living on a farm in a family home that no one was living in a remote location as part of a wider community that was involving an American guy who had a lot of money. And he was spending money in different projects, and there were different people coming in, and I was seeing all this community stuff going on. A lot of it became miserable for a lot of people. But anyway, one morning in this location, I was woken up with this presence of a being in the bedroom, and I'm looking up at it, and it was androgynous. It wasn't male or female, and it had all the lights of wholeness of life. And I remember the gold and the yellow around it, and the eyes were all the colors of wholeness. And the feeling of the peace and joy, all those things people describe from near-death experiences, that incredible joy and peace and contentment was there. And it didn't ask anything from me. It didn't tell me how to do anything. And I can remember seeing its face to its neck, and it faded rest into what we call the ether. And it had such a profound experience on me. But for years, I kept garnishing, thinking, oh, what was it, alien, UFO? Because that's where my head was. I didn't comprehend all these things. So here we are in 2006 in January, and this memory comes back of that experience. And I'd said to myself, what was it? And when I said that, a voice spoke through everything that exists, through all the clouds that were around, all the trees, all the leaves, all the ground, all the soil, through the whole of every cell of this man's body. This voice said to me so powerfully, it was the face of God. But it was like 3 or 4 men all punching me down and around the belly button area, and my whole body buckled over. I literally buckled over while I'm walking with my dog, and all the breath came out of my body. And I literally ended up in a suspended state. I had no breath, and I was in flux, because if I don't breathe, I'm going to die. But my body burst into a state of elation. This white gold light appeared all around. The tears and my whole body sweating, and that feeling of joy and peace was all there, and the timelessness, there was no time. And it was like what I experienced back in 1979. And then I pulled myself together, and then I rang Fiona, and I came home, and we talked about, what do you do with this experience? What does it mean? You know? And we didn't know what to do with it. So we had this imaginary bookshelf that we invented. So let's put it up there as a reference point. Move on. Move on. We did. We moved on. Some weeks later, we're now into February, probably very late February. Same walks. Same location during the day, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock during the day. Walking fast. You know, cars going past and all that. Bang. This man on the land moves his whole body in front of me, and he's what we now call an Aboriginal man on the land. And he gives me his name. He actually talks to me, and his name was so long, but I call him Gugadunga because I cannot explain the bigger picture of this man's name. And he says to me, I've been waiting for you for thousands of years. And I'm going, what? What the fuck? You know, and I'm looking at this man, but the feeling of that peace, that light, that joy, the elation, all that sensorama that I experienced 79, that I experienced with the face of God thing that spoke, all that stuff was there. And he was a man on the land. And I knew he was a man on the land. And I'm in a timeless state. There's no time. And then whatever happened, stop. He didn't ask anything from me. Didn't tell me how to do anything. Just as the voice didn't tell me how to do anything. Just as that face didn't tell me anything, I had to do anything. There was no script, nothing. And I just did what I felt I had to do. So I stopped the walk and went home because it sort of faded away or whatever happened. I came out of that. He moved his body. And it was a physical man like us. Moved his body. I went home to Fiona and said, you're not going to believe this. I think I'm going fucking crazy. You know, and we got talking. And I've got to point out the dog was also addressing the man too. It wasn't just me. The bloody dog was looking at the man, looking at whatever it was that voice that spoke. We don't know what to do with this. She's, you know, I said, I'm going to ring up. So I got on the phone. She said, no, she says, Fiona said, don't bother. You know, he'll find you when the time's right. She's saying to me. And I'm going, oh, fucking no, I'm typical. No. And I'm ringing, I'm talking to Aboriginal tribals along the way, trying to work out who is this guy, you know, because it's all new to me. You know, basically they're going, yawn, yawn, boring, boring. This is all normal stuff for them, you know, normal stuff. So we put this on the bookshelf as Reverend moved on. Weeks went past, we're now into March, April, something like that. Same walk, along the line, bang, an American Indian appears. And he's something like 6'3" and the most incredible looking guy I've ever seen. And I'm not talking physical Cary Grant Hollywood looks, just a stunning man with his American Indian with feathers and all that. And he says to me, I've been waiting for you for thousands of years. Same thing as Gugadunga. And he tells me his name is Running Water and that he's the spirit man. And I sensed that he meant spirit guide, you know, something like that. But I knew he wasn't a man on the land, right? And so I'm in again, all that elation, the joy, the sweating, the timelessness, all those things that were re-evoking from all the others was there again. And then that ended. And I don't know in the timelessness how long that goes for, because I can imagine it could have been 4 minutes, 1 minute, 2 seconds. I don't know. Got no idea. I stopped the walk, go home to Fiona, because every other day I'm walking, I carry on for the 2 hours. This time I'm stopping 20 minutes or whatever into these walks. I said, you're not going to believe it. I think I'm really gone. You better organize to get me locked up. I mean, when these experiences were happening, if someone was driving past me on a road with a straitjacket in their back seat and they saw me talking, they probably would have pulled the car and swung in and come and grab me and lock me up in a straitjacket and take me away. Because that's the kind of madness I was sensing about how do you explain these undefined experiences? We talk about it. What do you do with this? What can we do with it? He didn't ask me anything, didn't tell me how to do anything, just mentioned these things. Who the fuck are we? What are we? And then we put it up on this bookshelf, leave it there. We're not living our lives out there. We're not going to create a book. Oh, God spoke to me. Gugadunga spoke to me. Running Water spoke to me, and write a whole book about all these things and then garnish it even further. We didn't want to do any of this. So we moved on. And now weeks went past, and now we're into May 2006. Similar location, somewhere along this 1 kilometer strip, because it's not happening exactly the same spot, but it's happening along this 1 kilometer strip. Bang! Gugadunga and Running Water both appear in front of me, looking at each other. And I'm sitting there swearing on top of it, this is fucking bullshit. You're a man on the land and you're a spirit man, but there's no fucking separation between you. How can that be possible? It's fucking bull. And I'm swearing, man. I'm going right off my fucking head. This is bullshit, you know? And then they turn around and together say, we've been waiting for you for thousands of years. And then when they say this, I'm not placing any importance on the man because I'm trying to work out what they're talking about. And then it's like in a movie cinema. It's like the curtains are coming up and then the film begins. It's like they moved apart, and there before me were lights of consciousness, of souls of man. And I cannot define what that meant. Whether it's quadrillions, zillion, trillion, billions, or whether it's hundreds of millions or tens of thousands or multi-hundreds. But this unified voice of uniqueness, originality in every instant of it said, we've been waiting for you for thousands of years. And they burst into a song that was like black gospel music, but it wasn't black gospel music. It was this extraordinary song of joy and all that. And my body started dancing, and the dog was dancing. And I'm thinking, God, I'm becoming normal. For the first time, I think I'm becoming fucking normal. But I don't know what that meant. And then whatever happened, this stopped, and all the elation, the joy, the yellow, the blue, the sweating, and all that happened. And I go, oh, I got to go home and talk to Fiona because she's at home. I go back to Fiona, I says, I think I'm becoming normal, you know? And we got talking about it. I said, what do you do with this? What does it mean? We didn't know what it meant. So we put it up on the shoe shelf, move on. Within a day or so of that, or whatever, very small period of time, the banks went down and changed the locks on the beach house. And that brought me into the law. And I knew it was all connected. And that gave burst, the big burst to the Love Life Insights. And ever since, the inspirations of the senses that are beyond this man's defined state was able to make sense and build a picture of something much bigger than all of us, that we really are, that we had forgotten. And I got the sense that when they were saying, we've been waiting for you, what they were intending was, they're waiting for us, for man, to wake up, to remember who the fuck we are. It was not about me, the man, because there is no such thing as me, the man. Because who the man is also the bird and the tree. It's for everything. So there's no one man. There's no self-centered, no self-obsession. So I got it. It was about man, that as the dream of life, to remember who we are and wake up. Brother, wake up.
Exactly.
Right? Now, this happens through senses. It was a sensory experience. And then all those years later, 2002, when I had that 2 week sleep. Now, I could give you so many other experiences of these sort of things, but they had a remarkable impression.
We'll keep going.
We'll do it on Sunday.
Saturday night, our usual rendezvous. Perfect.
Because I want to really get into the frenzy of this stuff and talk about a lot of the frenzy stuff, right?
Yeah, no problem. Like I said, it's just because I have to go, but if not, I would keep going. It's always a pleasure for me.
Awesome. And you got this recorded, so that's cool, man.
Yeah, I have it recorded.
Good. We'll put it up.
Within our world, watching dreams without blue skies floating by. Why are the gray clouds forming overhead? Forming overhead. I'm trying to breathe. I'm following the path mapped out from the start. Why do my dreams keep moving out of sight? Moving out of sight. Ooh, I'm trying to fly, but where's the light that keeps me down? Sunshine that I seek shines faintly through the smoke. Layers of fantasy, images that blind us to our lives, blind us to our lives. And I'm trying to see, I'm juggling with my things, I'm struggling with the cold. And I'm spinning in a vortex of burning wells, of burning wells. Ooh, and my head ocean when we save our lives. We'll save the children, we'll save the old ones, we'll save our earth when we save our lives by doing no harm. Ooh. We're living for the love that lights up in our hearts. We're living for the dream of a world of do no harm. We're living for our kin, our tribe of conscious men. We're living for the truth, no more waiting for saviors.